motion and ready to deliver, inform, and of course offer you the updates that you need to be able to make the decisions that you ought to make to be the best possible citizen. The Kickstarter does help us understand some of the critical issues that we grapple with on a daily basis. And today we are looking at the impact of the extreme heat on food security. Later, as we speak, we shall also infuse in something about the way street food is cooked within Kampala and other urban centers across the country. I have with me two very competent guests on this matter who will be offering us a much needed perspective that should embolden the way we eat and what we should be eating. But before I introduce them, just a preamble. Globally, we produce more than we eat, yet we still have hunger occurring throughout the world. Up to 828 million people were considered food insecure in 2022, and the World Food Programme estimates that more than 350 million in 79 countries face high levels of hunger this year. Food security is very complex considering production alone, but there is a more complete understanding that should be sought. It dates back to 1996 at the World Summit on Food Security. It is when all people at all times have physical, social, and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food to meet their dietary needs and food preferences for an active and healthy life. Now, that is a bit poignant. I do not know whether if I can't meet my food preferences, then I am food insecure. It doesn't matter whether those preferences are actually not good for you. But I have with me Agnes Kirabo. She's a food security advocate at Food Rights Alliance. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, and good morning, viewers.
And with me also is the usual suspect, David Kabanda, Executive Director at the Center for Food and Adequate Living Rights. Many thanks for making it.
Thank you. Good morning, viewers.
Now, the preamble I shared with the viewers was a little bit more like a blanket, canopy, that talks about the greater aspects of things. I want to narrow this down so that we can tackle this matter as effectively as we must. Food security, climate change, and the heat wave. What people quickly understand right now is a heat wave that is currently ongoing. Of course, noting that a bit of rain in the last 2-3 days does not negate the fact that the heat wave is still on. That is if the forecast is anything to go by. And then it is well understood that it could be one of the impacts of climate change. And as we experience the heat wave as a result of the climate change, there is untold impact that is going on in as far as food security is concerned. Let me begin with Agnes Kirabo on this. Where are we? And I don't want to say it's a crisis, but we're always moving in a crisis, especially within Africa. But food security, climate change, heat wave, must I, for example, as the average Ugandan, be afraid?
Thank you so much. And for starters, viewers out there, despite the fact that today is 1st April, what we are speaking is the truth. So don't imagine that we are fooling around. Today being Fool's Day. No, what we are talking about is a fact, it's a reality, and please take it as it is. You started the preamble of this show talking about the global status, and you're asking me as to whether you have all the reasons to be worried. As an average Ugandan, I must say yes. What is very worrying is living in a country of plenty and you live in scarcity. Because while they are talking about the 800 and so million people in the world, back home here in Uganda, the most recent report we had indicated 2022-2023 indicated actually that over 10 million Ugandans stay or live in severe food insecurity. And by severe food insecurity, those are the people that never even had a meal yesterday. and if they had something to throw down through their mouth, they are not certain as to whether they will actually find something of that nature to eat. And to make matters worse, I think the report indicated that around 34 million people live in scarcity. That means if they have a meal, they can't have the 3 meals a day. They eat to survive. They survive on anything that they can eat. 34 million. Remember, we are 45 to 48 million people, and I'm talking about already 40, because the 10 plus the 34, that's already 40 million Ugandans. They are in the state of food insecurity. And now when it comes to the kind of experience we are having in terms of weather, the heat wave, I must say this is not the first heat wave we have experienced, and neither is it going to be the last heat wave. The issue is climate change is a reality, but unfortunately the most affected people by such changes are the already affected. Okay. And unfortunately the haves are having because the have-nots do not have. In Uganda, over 80% of the food that we ate yesterday on Easter is produced by smallholder farmers, and especially women. And the reality on the ground indicates that, for instance, if you look at a food commodity like maize, most of the maize, despite the heat wave, is not fit for human consumption. Okay. The farmers were trapped between the dramatic rains in January and February, and of course the low prices of maize. So they didn't care about the what? They didn't care about the maize. So for me, an average Ugandan, why they should be worried about climate change is because you're already among the 40 that are hungry. And climate change is making the situation of making the safe and healthy diets available very difficult. Unfortunately, I do not want to discuss the heat wave and climate change in a sense of a problem, because the more we have been pushed to look at it as a problem, the more it has been used to manipulate our food system.
All right, that's a perspective that we shall, of course, tackle a little bit later. Allow me to stay first on what we are facing right now. You give what is no doubt a very revealing observation when it comes to our very bad state of affairs, and I'm sure David Kabanda does share that opinion. But as one who has buried himself in understanding the patterns, especially of food consumption within the country, I would be remiss if I do not say that your latest information from the Center for Food and Adequate Living Rights is grim, not so? Share something about that.
Fellow Ugandans,
I know you've always struggled to be candid to Ugandans because you believe, for example, the very last time we had an interaction, that most Ugandans don't want to listen to the truth. They don't want to hear it. And when you tell it to them, they go defensive and counter. But you're on MorningAtNTV. It's a no holds barred. We've got to tell them as it is. So please, share.
Yeah, fellow Ugandans, whether you like it or not, we are entangled, and all of us. I just came back from Mombasa, and the heat outside is unbearable. That's right. So we have people in Uganda who are rich, I should say, and maybe they can even afford air conditioning. So when you enter your house, you even forget that there is a heat wave because you have worked around that.
That's right.
But I want to speak to an ordinary Ugandan that indifference is going to cause you trouble. this is the time when everyone must never behave or act as if they are not concerned. Let me break it to a level where everyone can understand it. When we were starting March, a kilo of maize was around 500, 600 shilling, Uganda shillings. Right now, if you wanted to buy it, it is 1,100, in the range 1,100 to 200, just in a space of 1-2 weeks. What does it show you? That the heat wave has already caused disruptions. Although we had some bumper harvest in the last season and the prices had gone low, right now there has been disruptions because some farmers had planted and already we have indications, we have, some seeds have now been burnt. So you are sure that we are heading into a very catastrophic situation when it comes to food, and we need to organize ourselves, and the quicker we do this, the better. Unfortunately, the ordinary Ugandan is indifferent, and even the leaders are indifferent. But of course, we have the middleman, the trader, who is going to take advantage of this. So for me, where we are now, we will continue to see malnourished people, whether you like it or not, because this heat wave is not going to leave us the same. Many people do not already see where we are heading. I have never, let me tell you, Chris, I have never felt scared the way I'm scared now, because although we expected that maybe the rains have delayed a bit, but we are soon getting the rains. When they started, it rains today, it skips, and it continues. After it has rained, you get this heat, and you're like, it is unbearable. Immediately it rains, there is dust everywhere. You understand? You are in your house, you think it is raining outside, but when you come out, you clearly see that the ground is dry, yet it has just rained. So everyone needs,
the water has already been soaked up.
It has evaporated.
It has evaporated, and we continue to sleep, we continue to move on. And as I'll be discussing, where does this leave us? Because we are now talking about a heat wave, but it is supposed to be a system, and this system, the food system that we are talking about, is now going to be taking us back. Those who seem to have food, soon they will realize that they don't have food.
All right, interesting there. Now this gives me the opportunity to return to your earlier aspect that you wanted to move into, but the question will also come to both of you. Is there a particular diet that is best recommended for hot climate, for example? Is there food, because of the heat wave, that you should excuse yourself from, and then perhaps adopt a new diet regime? That one is
okay. As I come to that particular question, David was trying to shed a picture of what actually is happening if we look at a particular food. And for me, David, we never had a bumper harvest of maize. It's because our maize trade got distorted for reasons that we all know. The
presence of
aflatoxins. You remember Sudan followed Kenya, and we lost the credibility of our grains. And so even if you look at the figures, our figures in grain trade are dramatically reduced, creating that dramatic bumper harvest that actually didn't exist. It was quite very, very unfortunate that farmers were not able to take their children to school. I live in that reality. I have a brother who is dependent on the farm, and he had stocked his maize, only to realize that the maize stocks he had could not take his children to school. But this is what I told him: hold on the grain, keep drying it, keep it safe, Actually, I wanted to go into grain trade, and he told me, please don't dare, because the farmers have neglected the grain, and the way I know you, the grain is so bad, you'll not be able to buy it. So I wanted to tell the people that actually we didn't manage our food system well, and we created a dramatic bumper, and therefore we are ending up with wrong foods, wrong grains. Those grains that you're going to buy at 1,000 plus, they are very, very unsafe because they weren't properly cared for. Now to the question, are there particular foods? You know, interestingly, I still believe Uganda, we are still a country of plenty. And for me, I decided as a person, I've done this work for so many years. Being a woman, I would have mentioned the years. And I have decided to be positive.
All right. Perfectly understandable.
Yes, but we are still living in a country of plenty. Unfortunately, if you look at the food behaviors of many Ugandans, what we have, we don't eat it, which is the best that we would have had in this kind of time. I was in Gulu last week, and Gulu was at 37. Ajumani was at 41, Moroto was at 32, 35, while Kampala were around 24, 26. And I tell people, the number one, if we are in this kind of situation, by around this time, you would have already taken your 1.5 liters of water before your body mass gets into motion.
That's right.
You take at least 1.5 liters before your body gets into motion as you wake up, and another 1.5 as your body gets out of motion. When the heat comes, heat goes with the heat.
That's right.
Take a cup of coffee and create the same temperature inside your body like it is in the surface, and there you go. The next thing is increasing our consumption of vegetables and fruits, because the body is already struggling. Please don't give it more struggle, because vegetables and fruits are lighter foods for the body to manage
than the fiber that
but many of us think that vegetables are for the poor, fruits are for the children.
Let me show you something that usually, especially for a person who may have the advantage of a backyard garden within Kampala, that is something that's very hard, especially for corporate workers. Eating pumpkin and I don't know what the greens are called in
Sukuma wiki?
Gobe. What's gobe in English? Anybody help me? Anybody help me with that? Yeah.
Let's take gobe.
Okay. Let us take it as
all right,
our
but let me have my producer show that
gobe.
particular piece of food so that we can understand exactly what it is. When you go to the garden and pick a pumpkin,
yes,
and then the pumpkin leaves,
sunsa,
sunsa, there is a derogatory aspect about that food that doesn't allow the average Ugandan to enjoy. But I know you will agree with me that the nutritious contents in there far supersede anything that you can find anywhere else. So the mindset shift that is widely needed is difficult to get Ugandans to understand that doing greens or anything within that range is the perfect thing to do. And for them, they are like, no, sausages, those are the things that...
You've started wrongly. But actually, we have reports here that indicate our vegetable and fruit consumption as people in Uganda are very low.
Yet
we leave vegetables for the poor. Even the poor are struggling to leave that category and drop the vegetables. We leave the fruits to the children.
The poor are struggling to move away from eating
healthy
organic.
Eating.
They want to eat like the urban guys.
Yes. Of course, it is not about the poor. We must confess, you know, when we speak here, and I don't want the viewers to think that we are hoary. We have ever lived in that kind of life where we all struggled to go to school and aspire to have our money such that we can fly our food, drink our soda, throw away the beans and the groundnuts and the vegetables. We have all because we are coming from a history of poverty, and therefore characterize our healthy foods as poor foods of the poor.
Foods of the poor.
Foods of the poor. I'm very sure that many people that are watching NTV this morning, majority of them never had a vegetable yesterday. I know. And look at them, how they feel shy. They never had a vegetable yesterday. They had a lot of alcohol. They had a lot of meats, so many meats. They had a lot of carbohydrates. I know, yes, you're watching us, and I know you're as guilty as I'm charging you, because we think the vegetables do not qualify to come for Easter, and the fruits as well. But as well, the drinking of water. Okay, let us do it this way. How many of us drank water yesterday? Those of us who are watching Morning at NTV. How many liters of water did you take yesterday?
Perhaps that's a good question. How many liters of water?
How many liters?
People definitely drank some water.
How many? Like chicken? It is chicken that drinks water in drops. Humans, we are supposed to take water a minimum of 3 liters.
A day.
A day. That's why I told you, take 1.5 before your body gets into motion. Take another 1.5 as your body gets out of motion. But the rest of the time, do, because it is hot, do hot.
All right, let's share something on that before I come to Mr. Kabanda on this, about proper hydration being critical to exercise in the morning. Is something that the Daily Monitor has shared in Healthy Living. To adequately rehydrate after your exercise session, aim to drink 1.5 times the fluid you lost while exercising. Now, there are people who are doing a lot of jogging in this extreme heat wave, and they are not minding the replacement of water that they are losing while doing the practice. Now, that is different from the average intake of water as you're going about your day, either at work or within the home. And that's a bit, it's sort of a crisis, but we have the right to do things, don't we? Why do we abuse those rights?
I think as David finally comes in, the other critical food I have remembered is food with natural sugars, because we sweat.
That's right.
And if you have ever had an opportunity to have a taste of sweat, it is sweet. So, yes.
don't get me going onto a spree of sweat leaking.
So, of course, it can only happen accidentally. But I know the viewers know it, especially those that do the jogging and running around and the exercise. So you're losing a lot of body sugars, and that's why people collapse. Because again, we have been told a blanket statement that sugar is bad. So even now, people are over-exercising, people are over-sweating. We are encouraging you to take a lot of fruits because they have natural sugar, the fructose. Over to you, David. Sorry.
There's too much to talk about when we talk about food, definitely, because...
I just ensure you don't scare us too much.
Of course I will not. I want to pick the debate from the heat wave now to where we are, because to why and what we eat. Now, you asked a question, what kind of food should we eat? I don't want to repeat that, but the statistics, at least from Ministry of Health, show that 94% of Ugandans don't eat fruits and vegetables. 94%, that is scary. Why are we not eating? And then we have them. But I also want to connect it to the way we suffer. It's the same way sometimes the environment is suffering. People look at soil and they don't connect it to be a health or a living thing. This is why we deal with it the way we want. We pump it with
whatever we want.
You know, all the chemicals and everything, and perhaps this is where many of these problems are coming from. We need to connect what we eat with the environment and the soil. So as we hydrate ourselves, this soil needs that hydration too. We need to make sure that, like you talked about the backyard garden, how many trees do you have in your compound? before you even plant, always I hear Agnes talk about, why do you just plant anything in your
ornamental
compound?
trees?
Kindly plant what you can eat. Let your children pick those fruits from your compound. Then secondly, can we practice agroecology?
Agroecology being?
Yes, agroecology is the art of working with nature, such that you don't hurt it. So as we eat, we need to make the circle full. You understand? Exercise, you have a lot of rubbish from your home.
Domestic waste.
Domestic waste. Let us recycle it. Let us make sure that we understand. You see, the problem is many people do not or have failed or refused to understand the science of how we exist. For example, why should you be eating sausage? Why do you eat dead things? Someone goes, they buy a sausage, and the entire family is eating on dead meat. Why should you do that to yourselves? Why should you be going to the market and the first thing you buy is a 4 weeks thing called chicken? You are eating death. And people are eating their way to the grave. And we are here to telling you the hard truth. You like us or not, but this is what we have seen. Why are you? By the way, Chris, we need now to go and make, you know, we've heard about people dying of cancer in Mulago.
That's right.
But this, before they die, we need also to criminally charge them. Some of them need to die with a criminal conviction on them.
That's an extreme statement.
Seriously speaking, because if we were serious to audit how some people behave or live, some people need to go to the grave with a criminal record that they they lived so recklessly, and then they took too much money from us, the taxpayers, because this is what is happening. You must make sure that you invest a lot of money. Some people are dealing with children as if they are dealing with, you know, abstract objects. You are in your home. Instead of feeding your children well, you are feeding them with junk. These children are going to find some of the children who are being fed well, and then they cause problems because they never fed well. So we are speaking to you, Ugandans.
So the parents should also be criminalized.
Seriously,
the governor who neglected duty should be criminalized.
So for me, I have told people that some parents need to be sued.
You're going to collapse the judicial system.
No. You'll sue 1, 2, or 3, and then the entire system
gets in order.
You understand? But we are lax. Everyone thinks that everything is okay.
No, essentially, let's put it the way it is. When you speak about junk, and the tendency for an average Ugandan elite to think that consumption of junk is, I don't know, enhances their reputation. That's where the problem is. It's a mindset problem. The tendency to think that if I consume or I'm seen to consume junk, then it plays well within the kind of perception or reputation that I want to build. Either I'm living the life or I can afford. There are funny sentiments that do run within the mind of the average Ugandan. And hammering it down to the woman at home, the reason I say woman, and I shouldn't be castigated for this, is that the women are responsible for more than 70% of our food security.
And they're in trouble, great trouble.
Talk to them.
They are in great trouble, fellow women, because we took on extra duties, and the social roles, like you have constructed them, have never been lifted away from us. Actually, that is the topic of my study, what is actually influencing many women to make the particular choices they are making for their children, yet to establish what exactly is happening. But one of the preliminary findings is that many of them are being influenced by lack of time. They want quick things, but others are also trapped in the other bigger trap where everybody running away from poverty. Running away from poverty. I'm telling you, even people that you see and think that they are not poor, the middle class, they have remained poor. Yesterday my mother was telling me, do you think getting somebody from the village and getting the village out of that person is very easy? I'm reflecting on that deeply. So many of them are still struggling with their village nightmares. and they actually associate these bad foods with the status. That is it. So the women, there are two types of women. There are those women that are seated in their living rooms because today it's the public holiday, the corporate women. They are associating wrong food with the status. We are here to tell you at MorningAtNTV that you're associating with the let me leave the world. But just know that every time you walk into the food parlor and buy wrong foods for your children, I don't care. You feed yourself wrongly and die. We shall mourn, but not for so long. But do not give those wrong foods to children. They still have a life to live, and you're making wrong choices for them because for you, you're struggling with your poverty, historical poverty. And interestingly, the cycle goes like this, that at one moment in time, and I believe even us who are seated here, you tend again to go back.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, rehabilitating your body to go back to eat what you were supposed to have eaten in the first place, it is not very, very easy. Secondly, there is another category of women. These are the Kameza surviving women. The Kameza surviving women.
Careful, don't shake the table too much.
The Kameza surviving women have also their problems. Because out of the Kameza, unfortunately, I've not had the privilege to be a Kameza. I pray I become. Hey, if I become a Kameza woman, somebody be careful. The Kameza women, they are dealing with too less in a wrong environment. Chris, what we are discussing now is also about the environment. What is the environment offering? If the environment is allowing wrong foods to be advertised at schools, it is allowing wrong foods to be advertised using children as the figures of those adverts. We all watch TV. In 1 hour, you're fed on over 10 food adverts, but 9 of them are wrong.
All of them. Sometimes.
You get outside your doorsteps. The way our market for the healthy foods are organized, some people don't even want to get out of their cars to go and associate with that market. The vegetables are thrown on the ground, the fruits are on the floor. Now it has rained, the pineapples are in the mud, the cassava is sold with the soil, and yet the person who is dealing with the wrong foods has created an ambience that attracts the people into death. So you pay for death while you're buying. So the environment also is wrong. And I want to urge David, that yes, as we plan to criminalize those people who are dying already, they are already serving a sentence anyway. What about what is happening in our food governance systems? Where is the leader?
That's a good question. You've
government
just preempted my
us.
question.
Yes.
I was going to ask, what is the regulatory framework and who is ensuring that food governance is actually performed? But let me just emphasize this, and it's something of course, as Agnes Kirabo has attributed to, the people who sell the wrong thing, package it so well, and put it in an environment that you, the person they are targeting, wants to go to. And then what you're supposed to consume to be healthy, to be productive, is put in places or given to you in circumstances that are dirty and do not attract you to even go and access those things. That is something people should think about. The cassava has a lot of soil. The sweet potato is dirty.
The vegetables.
The nakati is dirty. So somebody is looking at, how do I go and park near a valley or an alley that is mud, it's all muddy, and then I'm supposed to buy food. But again, you're doing yourself a disservice.
But there is a leader.
The average Ugandan has not lived in a super clean environment.
Even if
they should be able to access this food and then go conduct the cleaning exercise on this food.
Even if Chris, have you also thought that in Uganda we are over-governed? We are over-governed. From LC1, I don't know how many are there, there are 10 on that committee. There is a village security, internal security, there is a household internal security officer, a parish, you know, piece of there is a market, whatever. We are over-governed. Why are we finding it so difficult, especially the urban dwellers, surely, to organize those markets in a manner that one keeps our food safe? He told you 94% of the people do not eat vegetables and fruits. You just walk out of here and go to Nakasero. That heap of garbage is nothing but vegetables and fruits. And it's just by the way they are carried, the market in which the way they are arranged, they are on the ground. Surely, am I going to clean the vegetables and also clean them of lead?
I wanted to share something earlier,
which is on the tarmac.
I think I can share it right now. I do ensure that I clean my food, vegetables. So to me, the thing of I beat the fact that I'm given in the market food that is dusted. I clean it myself. If you can look at what's on the screen, that is a pumpkin, and that particular green, in my language, Lunyole from Butaleja, we call it ebo.
Ebo, yes.
I think many parts.
That's a gobe.
Ebo.
Gobe.
That's a ebo.
Ebo. Okay.
Ebo. Yes.
All right. So that involves a lot of cleaning because you don't find it really fancy when you're plucking it out of the garden.
Of course, it is okay.
I take some time and do that so that I can have that kind of meal. But it's a difficult one, especially if a friend asks you, "How did you do this yourself?" And you're like, "Yeah." They're like, "No." And you sense there is some resignation on their part, as in, how can you be conducting yourself in that?
No, but if you, for instance, if you are a woman and you're leaving this place at 9, all at 8, all at 7, and you want to prepare your good husband, yes, ebo and pumpkin, and you have quickly run through Nakasero to pick them. I mean,
how quick do you do that?
How quick do you do that?
How do we establish a governance system that first of all operates within the confines of our homes before we can think of what the government is doing to ensure that some of the things are streamlined?
Yeah, it comes back to an awareness. It is very unfortunate. I don't know where we lost it as a country, but when I was growing up, there was order.
No, be candid enough. You know where we lost it.
Okay. Okay.
So withdraw that question. Tell us when you were growing up.
When I was growing up, there was order in that home. I didn't grow up so much with my father. It was my mother.
Your mother, yeah.
My mother. I'm telling you, we knew who does what, even us as boys. My mother did not have boys or girls. If it was your turn to prepare food,
it was
Kabanda just kneel down, we put banana leaves. I know to do everything. Maybe this is why I'm talking about it. So the order was very clear, and in entire village. But right now, people mingo, kaunga, in Kavera. So these people. And what I have discovered, Chris, why I actually was very, hard on people dying of dietary-related NCDs as criminals, it's because when you speak to people, there is a conscience that they know. I'm telling you, many people know, but
we are resigned to
yes,
a certain
but we choose to just live, and I don't know why Ugandans have decided to choose to
become lazy.
Many people are diabetic right now or pre-diabetic.
Pre-diabetic.
Yes, pre-diabetic. There is a condition.
That's the crisis.
Your body is telling you. The body is telling you have itchy feet. You are not very active. But if told you go and do a sugar test of 2,000 or 3,000 and see how your body is behaving. But people don't, and the government also is quiet. And maybe that brings me to the governance question that Agnes is talking about. We have heard and we know that transformer oil is being used in our food system, roadside food. Before I came to this show, I went through the KCCA Act.
Okay.
All the legal authority is given to them to manage. KCCA, the Kampala Capital City Authority. They have all the legal authority to regulate, manage, but they don't. Who told you that this flying pan is food grade and is supposed to be serving Ugandans with food?
It's called the chikalai.
The chikalai. Who told you that? You understand? They are sleeping on the job. And when I talk about suing them, people say, but Kabanda, how many people are you going to sue? But I think I need not to have sleep. You
just told us the whole country needs to be sued.
So the governance, the food governance, the roadside food, but also the restaurants or big hotels, you may find that illegal and fraudulent food practices are being conducted in these spaces. Kirabo is talking about the food environment. Who told Ugandans that we should advertise to these kids who do not even understand the commercial content of whatever you are putting before them? Restriction of marketing to children must also be, put in place. Then the labeling of the food. So we can go on and on and on. But you see, an average Ugandan today needs some kind of help from the leaders.
All right. Let me allow Agnes Kirabo to wrap this up for us so that we can transition into our tech note.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you are what you are. You are what you eat. You can eat yourself into death, or you can save yourself and live a little bit longer. We have all the choices in our hands to make. Please don't follow the wagon. Don't be fooled by an advert. We are here to tell you that we are still living in a country of plenty, where the health diets are still cheaper. They are affordable. Don't be lazy when it comes to what you want to eat. Don't be lazy, because you're going even to be more lazy when what you ate being called fast, it is walking you fast into the grave. So fast foods, ask yourself, fast foods fast going where? And you see, these narratives of criminalizing our foods, because if you call certain foods wrong foods fast, then what is about, especially you younger people, you're eating yourself quick into the grave. Well, what we are saying is that, please, can you be ethical? Can you be responsible? When you're manipulating that food while you're cooking it and thinking that you're cooking it for others, food makes rounds and gets back to your relative. Can we be a bit sensitive and responsible? Right. Can we deal with our greed? And ladies and gentlemen, my boss is called Henry Chimera, always says this: have pleasure in the mouth, but safety and health in your mind. Good morning. All right.
Kabanda, who do I sue if my food rights are violated? Quickly. Or where do I go?
Many dimensions. It's a very difficult question to have one answer. One, that local government.
Quickly.
That local government, if you are in Mukono, if you are in Wachiso, if you are in Kampala, they are responsible to make sure that whatever you are buying, either in a restaurant or in a market, is safe for your health.
All right.
But number two, you can also sue the vendor himself or herself.
That's a long shot.
Yes. No, it's not.
No, let us stop dragging them.
Yes, we must, because when we are talking about rights, we are talking about you must protect not only yourself but also me. If you are selling me something, you must make sure that whatever you are selling me is safe or fit for human consumption.
David Kabanda, Executive Director, the Center for Food and Adequate Living Rights. Many thanks for that submission. I'll be requiring that this conversation is continued at a certain point so that we can have all the time that we need to expound on just about everything else. And many thanks to you too, Agnes Kirabo, Food Security Advocate at the Food Rights Alliance. The message is clear. I'm not adding anything. Take note is next.